So 50-50 with it's so called because the idea is we're going to have half knowledge behind the scenes and the other half just at the forefront. Danny and I have got that experience. And finally, we've got two people that can offer that other 50.
Can we?
The two bosses.
I think that's probably a little unfair. I'm not sure we can do the whole 50.
Well, it's all on you this time.
35.
70-30.
So, two bosses, Dan Maker, Luke Maker,
hello.
boss men of Greenover and District.
Actually, I'm the boss.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. I'm
like a secondary boss.
I wasn't really going to ask this. I was going to ask this separately, but what's your capacity in it? Obviously, I've worked with you for like 3 years now and known you for many years before that.
It's Mike Rithkin.
Yeah, this is Mike Rithkin. There's going to be a lot of Anchorman jokes in this.
That's fine because I've never seen it, so I won't even realise.
You've never seen it?
No,
and
seriously?
We employed you.
We should just put that on then.
You should
like
have
nothing else but just Anchorman. We should just sit here and watch Anchorman.
You should have interviewed me in the first place, but the interviews actually just sit and watch, like with the eyes taped open, like that.
It was our first interview question for anyone that comes to work for us. Was
it?
What's your favourite movie or most important influential movie you've ever watched? And if it wasn't Anchorman, then you didn't get the job.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's that simple.
Why did I not get interviewed?
We don't really like you.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, because you live in Grimsby.
Yeah,
couldn't really interview, couldn't we? It was quite difficult.
We didn't need to because we knew that you were already a legend in the sport and that you would be a great asset.
You're only saying this because it's on camera.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was just a warm-up.
And given that we're talking about scooters, it's quite convenient that Luke is wearing a mountain bike t-shirt and I'm wearing a World Skate t-shirt.
Hey,
how well represented? Dan's actually kitted out in Scoot Fest.
Superman then.
And it just so happens, I guess no one actually knows who owns Scoot Fest, who Scoot Fest is and who did it. Well, here he is. Here's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
What do you want to know?
Why did Scoot Fest happen? By the way, I think every person in the world listens to this because we've referenced the old Scoot Fest a few times already, and everyone's always buzzing about how good it is, but how especially the first 1 and 2. It was 2 years at the showground, right?
Was it 2 or was it 3? I think it might have been the third year that they got fed up of people ripping fire extinguishers off the wall and changing numbers and hotel room doors and stuff.
Yeah, it was a bit manic, wasn't it? Yeah. But it was those 2 years, everybody who was there or even heard about it is going to remember that forever.
Yeah.
So,
they were amazing.
How did it come about? From nothing at all to going, we're not just going to do an event, we're going to have a whole festival.
It was, you remember the Scoot Mag days?
Of course.
Being well connected with that and Andy being super influential on a lot of the kind of stuff that was going on at that time. We had done an event up in North Wales that was pissed with rain actually for 2 days, so it was a bit of a disaster. But there was a MIDI ramp up there, and they wanted, and this was through Andy, wanted us to bring some scooter riders up there, which we did back in the day. And what was really evident really quickly was that when a scooter guy got in the ramp, the crowd, albeit was quite small because it was been raining, they were blown away by it.
Yep.
And then when a BMXer or a skateboarder went in, or an inline, which is, they were amazing riders, the crowd were a bit like, kind of, sort of seen that a bit,
a bit used to it. And as I was driving down the road at the end of that event, I was thinking to myself, because we'd done NAS, and NAS had been that kind of like shoved in the back of the cow shed. Not really. Yeah, NAS was at like 9 a.m.
Yeah,
wasn't it, that comp?
It was never really getting the what's the word I'm looking for? It just wasn't being represented properly by anybody putting on events.
Yeah,
it was always a bit of an afterthought, and I was like, these guys are amazing, and what they're doing and their commitment to the sport is awesome. They deserve to stand on their own 2 feet, that no one had really been brave enough to do. So like an idiot, I was driving down the road and I phoned Andy, and I was like, I'm a bit fed up of kind of being the poor relation to these other action sport events like NAS and wake skiing, whatever they were. We've done a few by now. I reckon we can stand on our own 2 feet. I reckon that we should give them the stage that they deserve, because they were amazing. And I said, do you fancy,
coming in with me to do it. Well, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. It'd be great. So that was literally how it happened. I was pretty much outside the services of M6 whilst I was thinking this on the phone to him. Remember it like it was yesterday. And then once we both kind of said, yeah, let's put it together and do it, that was when we sort of then panicked slightly and went, well, that's just great, but how are we going to do it?
Yeah.
And then we went to the guys at Soul Sports, Stu and Spence, who were awesome, and they'd done the Razor Tour and done a really good job of it. And they're great at events.
Yeah, I think it was probably that time that I first met you both, wasn't it? It was those Razor events.
Yeah, Global Domination.
Yeah, the Global Domination tour things. And in fact, that's the reason why we started Union, because at those events with Grit and stuff, Graham and I noticed that all scooter clothing was horrendous.
Yeah, well,
you'd go to an event.
I came up with those designs for those,
and it was
early Grit.
Yeah, they were horrendous.
But everything was really like
Fair
bright.
cop.
Was like really bright and everything, wasn't it? It was like, oh, here's a
the
bright
fluoro,
pink t-shirt.
the fluoro yellow.
I mean,
and
Ryan Mack's general attire, like
Yeah,
yellow
but
t-shirt,
he
red
never
jeans.
had very good dress sense.
No.
No.
Anyway.
I suppose not. But anyway, and we were like, well, why? People should be wearing decent clothes with scooters, and it was because of those events that we were like, yeah, we can just do that kind of thing. But they were sick events. They were probably 20. When did it finish? The 2012. It happened. It was when NAS finished. Because Scootfest 2012 was the first one.
Yeah, they all merge into
It was
sort of this very painful experience of hard work. But yeah, I guess it was back then, wasn't it? It was quite
Well, the first one that we went to. Actually, I don't think you went. I don't think you were here. Yeah, over in Corby, and that was when it was.
Is that when I got third? It's when Lewis won.
Lewis Williams won, and it was pretty mind blowing. Actually, it was like, bloody hell, who's this guy? It's amazing.
We chatted about that event the other two episodes ago. Something.
Yeah.
Danny. That's when he first competed.
Yeah, no, he was amazing. And but in the Grit team, who do we have? We had like Tommy Medland,
Billy Atkins, Nathan Weston,
Harry Labbert, Nathan Weston.
Yeah, what would Westy do?
Billy Atkins. Yeah, he came. That was a bit later, I think, with Billy.
Billy was a little bit after that.
Did you have Billy and Freddie?
We never really had Freddie. He was MGP, I think. He was a better fit for that brand. Yeah, or was
Freddie?
it?
I don't know.
Was it MGP?
Can't remember now. I get lost with it all. We definitely had Billy because he's still my favourite rider. Shout out Billy.
Not for riding.
No, not for riding.
Yeah,
Lewis
really,
is still my favourite.
They really were. Not me though.
the other
one,
the good one.
Yeah, that one. But they were. That was a good period, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
And how long after first being involved with scooters did you do that Scootfest thing?
Right from the early. Well,
when did you first have a scooter that you then sold?
1998.
All right. Well, not that one. The second,
that would have been late 2009.
Yeah, late
October
2009.
Yeah, when the Brett, who is the guy that owns Grit, was looking for distribution.
Yep.
And we got introduced to him, and it kicked off from there really.
And what did you do before that? What were you doing before you were a distributor for scooters?
Well, my background's always been through distribution of certain types, but predominantly all with more unusual sports. So, well, not mountain biking is not an unusual sport, but my background is wheels basically and bikes.
Yep.
How detailed do you want to get with this?
No, just wondering how you made this. So why did someone contact you in the first place?
Well, because I mentioned that 1998 was the first time that we got involved with scooters.
Yep.
And they were the micro
MS130Bs.
Yeah, the fold-up jobs.
Yep.
That everyone was using to get around the city because they were shiny and they looked cool.
Yep.
The guys that I did that with back then, they were the Razor guys, and they saw the opportunity, couldn't do Grit, and then phoned me up and said, do you want to give this a go? And I was like, yeah. At that time I was kind of done with where I was working. I was running a distribution business the GM. I was the general manager there, and this came along, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a punt.
Yeah.
And it was good.
And so when did you got involved a bit later? You're the buyer and seller.
Buyer and seller
in general.
Yeah,
so you're the guy with the sales figures
now.
Yes. Yeah. Now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you say it like that?
Well, because obviously when it first started, Dan did all of it. Really. Well, actually, that's not quite true.
I did all of it.
That's not quite true.
I definitely did all of it.
So no,
I
right?
heard he still does all of it.
Yeah. No. It's less and less. No, I think the
It's a little unkind.
the way that it kind of transpired was I was doing. I've always been in sales, marketing, that side of things through other distribution businesses, and I had finished doing what I was doing at the time, and Dan was like, "So I'm doing this scooter thing," and I'm like, "Right, okay, don't know anything about scooters." But I kind of need someone to help with just the sort of general day-to-day kind of sales stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I kind of always thought that, yeah, that's fine. I'll just help out on the kind of, lunchtimes and evenings and things like that. But I kind of always thought that, I still need to get like a proper job. Obviously, that's what you need to do. So I got a proper job again, and continued helping out at lunch breaks and in the evenings, doing the emails and the follow up with all the sales and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing more of that work than my actual 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
So
and then 10 years later,
I was like, yeah,
Still
we
here.
should probably do this properly. So
and so how quickly did it become? Because it's something that I've seen a lot. It's something you really enjoy doing, being involved with scooters and being at events and with the riders and stuff. How quickly did that become a thing? Because obviously the first thing was, it's just business. We'll sell some scooters. At some point, you will have met a couple of guys,
to be honest,
right?
it was never that.
Was
it
it
was
not?
never really like, it wasn't kind of like we came into it or I got approached and it was kind of like, yeah, this is a way I can make some money. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and this is going to be awesome. It was never that, actually. I think for me, I was looking for a different direction from what I was doing, but didn't want to step out of that. I knew that business. I know distribution. I know how to get products made, and I know how to kind of market and sell them. And I've done it for years. And when this came along, we had I made most of the mistakes that most of those guys do in the beginning. And I was kind of like, this could be amazing. Like, this could be game changing from being in at this level, at this point in it. That was a pivotal bit, wasn't it? That 09, 10, that area, that
huge.
time.
yeah, the timing as well.
The timing was really
was key to it.
probably a bit more. Well, it was happening anyway, and all it needed was a push.
Yeah.
And we got together with a few of guys, and we were like, let's not worry about our brand necessarily. Let's just worry about getting more kids riding scooters, because it's great. It's awesome, actually. And, I was a skateboarder when I was 9, started doing that. Sailed, surfed, cycled, did all that kind of stuff. So always been involved in that sort of activity. And, the mates that I sailed with or cycled with, I've still got that. You still have those. And I watched the early Powell and Peralta videos and was just hooked on it.
Yep.
It was like what I did. And I could see that the kids were doing that, and they were getting a bad rap. I mean, it wasn't like...
It was just the new thing, wasn't it? It was like, who are these guys invading our skate parks? And because it blew up so quickly, BMX and skateboards had the monopoly of skate parks for like 20 or 30 years before that. And then suddenly, it was like almost overnight in the grand scheme of things. Suddenly there's 50 scooter kids at parks. And now it's the case where it's like, well, indoors are only open now because of scooters.
Yeah. But actually, if you look at it back then, it didn't come from nowhere. There'd been a scene growing for a decade of a very small handful of amazing riders doing amazing things on very, very poor product. And all we did really was come along. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, it was a race to develop product at a rate at which the riders were developing the sport.
Yeah.
And that was always our challenge. I mean, the early grip product was...
It's amazing.
It was doable, but it wasn't really up to scratch.
Than what we had.
It was better than what you had.
Obviously, in hindsight,
it wasn't as good as what you needed.
Yeah, you could say now we're at a pretty good point with that. Products now are pretty consistent. No matter what you have, they're mostly made in the same factories.
I think pretty much now
whereas back then there were a couple of factories making some okay product. A lot of it was made by hand in a workshop by somebody's dad. Now we've got quite good products being made, and I don't think there's any bad product now. I think it's all
that's what I mean.
good.
So now we can look back at it and go, yeah, it's pretty shit. But back then it was like, oh my god, it's a one-piece deck. This is incredible, regardless of quality.
Yeah, but then it was made of toffee. It was like there was a fair few failures of everyone. So.
But even with the scene developing, though, I think that period was incredibly important. That product came then. Good product came in 09, 10, that region.
Yeah.
Because that was when it was getting bigger. That's when Razor and Mad did the summer tour thing. It's when Grit got to the UK. That all happened at like once, didn't it? Like Razor, Mad and Grit just kind of appeared at the same time-ish.
Well, and that's because the three of us sat around a table and was like, right, we're going to do the global tour. And with myself and Nigel, who was at MGP then, we were like, yeah, we'll support it. Let's get on board. And we did, and it was epic.
And back then it was, I think they had the handful of dog riders. I don't know what the capacity was, but Dog was for some reason in charge of Razor and MGP, and it was like, well, here are the 12.
That was a little bit before us.
Here are the 12 best English riders. We're going to put 6 on Razor and 6 on MGP.
Pretty much.
That was in 2010.
Yeah.
That's when, and I just think I think that was the point where Progression, well, like you said, you were kind of chasing it with the quality of product, because Progression was mad then, and if we didn't have good product then, I don't think it would have continued to. But anyway, I still think people like involvement like that and going, yeah, we'll distribute this, even though at the time it's like, yeah, we'll give it a go. I still think that was a really, really, really important thing to do at the time. Right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Imagine if it was someone else doing it that didn't care about scooters. And they were in control of...
Well, some people did do it. They didn't care about scooters, and they don't carry on doing it. So, there were a whole... So, yeah, it's hard, really. There was an initial phase when we were trying to build product to keep up with the riders, but it was still what the riders were driving. We were keeping up with them. It wasn't like we were going, okay, guys, this is our plan for the next 10 years, and this is how we're going to execute it. We were literally learning it as we were going as well, just like everyone was.
Yeah.
And whilst we kind of knew about commerce, and we knew about marketing, and we knew about putting on events, and we were motivated to go and do those things, it was great. It was a good marriage of both parties. And that set the foundation, and that's why to this day I would say that the UK is still providing the world with the best guys.
Not involved. When did you first go, you know what, I'd fucking love this sport, scooters and mint? Those words exactly.
Yeah.
Careful how you answer this.
I don't know if I've ever said the word mint. I think I've always loved sport, so it doesn't matter really what it was. I always grew up watching, not necessarily competing in, but always watched a lot of sport.
I've seen you win a mountain bike race.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Win a mountain bike race?
Well, you won a prize.
I got a gold medal time.
Yeah,
no, that was mountain biking. That was road. I also road bike as well.
Right. That's a participation prize.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got. Should we move on?
Yeah.
No, I think with the scooter, I think NAS, when we went to that event with the Grit boys, and
Luke Painter.
Dakota was there, doing
Lewis.
his thing, and obviously at the time he was like,
Dakota was the only guy at that, because we got sent as Razor riders, and they were like, and we used to get paid like a daily rate. We didn't get like a monthly amount of money. When we did like events and stuff, like demos, they'd give us a daily amount. And they were like, right, so we've got NAS this weekend, so you're gonna get paid 3 days. We'll pay for your 4 days. We're gonna pay for your expenses, your ticket, everything. Just turn up. And we're there like 18-year-olds, like, are they paying us to go to be at NAS?
That's a dangerous.
That's a really bad idea. Yeah. And everybody obviously was excited and enjoyed it as much as
the riding and the competing really seriously.
Well, and so everyone was like, oh my god, everyone's together, this is a really cool thing the scooters are a part of, let's go have a good time. And then everyone would like not sleep and then compete at 9 in the morning, except Kota, who stayed in his RV thing and used to go back and like watch his runs and stuff. And because back then the competition really wasn't that serious anyway, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, people didn't train that much except Kota, and that's when I think Kota started having his big influence and being like,
that's
you know
the
what,
thing,
guys, you
exactly.
can just be better if you just try a bit.
I think he took it very, very seriously,
Yeah.
and I think at the time it was, and he, amazing. Obviously, he's amazing, and I think that was such an impression that it kind of just was the start of the level just growing and growing and growing. For me that was and then Ryan McNamara, he'd get pushed on because of what Dakota was doing, and he would start doing his stuff. Lewis Williams was always like amazing with his style and everything. So I think for me, I was just blown away. I remember thinking, wow, these guys are amazing, really good. And
it's interesting that a lot of those people, you're kind of still around them now, right? Obviously Ryan Mack phased out a little bit, but like Lewis Williams is just still works for you. Like you did a thing with Kota for a bit. Like a lot of those names didn't go, oh, this is pretty cool. Seen a bit, they were like, oh, this is rode the wave almost, and still do, because they loved it. But back then, all the best pros in the world were like 18 years old, and now it's like, oh wait, Lewis must be like 26 now, still competing.
He's about 40, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Walks around like he's about 40.
Yeah, that's true.
Dresses like he's 40. No.
So did you think it was going to be a long-term thing? When let's say you're NAS, you enjoy NAS and you go, this is here to stay, or is it a bit of a, what's the phrase, flash in a pan? Is
That's
that
a good question, actually. Because we would always be like realistic and be like, not sure how long it's going to last for.
For me, it was easy. For me, it was super easy. It was always going to be something that was going to be around forever, even from those days. I was like, and I know, because we had guys that were in our space in manufacturing. They're like, we just need to maximize this. It'll be 2 years and then it'll be done. Everyone will be over it. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I reckon this is definitely going to be around forever. Sure, it'll have better and worse years, and we've had periods where it's not been quite so good, or off a growth curve, or whichever you want to say it. But I was like, it's always going to be around forever now, and it's easy to see why. It's relatively low cost to get into. There's loads of places you can ride them. It's something you get introduced to. You learn to walk, and then you get a scooter.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in your life from a really young age, and so if you can create some kind of sport off the back of that, sure, there's going to be loads of people doing it. It's never going anywhere.
Because even as a rider, I thought for a while during those days, like, because everyone kind of asked me anyway, just other skaters and stuff, like, oh, still going, is it?
Yeah.
And even then, we were all a bit like
it's gonna
this
stop.
is really, really sick. We're not really sure how long it's going to be sick for, because of course everyone thought we were just going to follow what rollerblading did and go way too fast and explode, and then just disappear off the face of the earth. And I, even as a rider, I was like, well, I'm going to ride for a long time, but I don't really know if this is going to stay as popular as it is. And obviously, I'm glad that it has.
Yeah.
We had a lot of the shops in the early days and stuff were a lot of them were like that, for sure. They were like, oh, I think it's a bit of a trend.
There were for sure guys that got on board because it was hot.
Yeah.
Right? And, when we look at our dealer base compared to what it was 7 or 8 years ago, it's way, way smaller.
Yeah.
Like way, way smaller. But the turnover is as big. So, we've got much more going through fewer people now, and they're more dedicated to it in the first instance.
Yeah,
so,
and always have been. It's the same people, really.
It's the same core of people globally that are on board, and have kept it going. And guys come and go, clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we've noticed. But it's not going anywhere.
And you said there are bound to be good and bad years. You've seen the last couple of years in a very different way. In fact, you see scooters in general in an added way, not a different one, because you're still at events and stuff, but you also see it the other side of the fence. Like kind of when you see it the Excel spreadsheet way.
Yeah, we do.
Right? Mm. How has it actually been the past 2 years?
Right, the last 2 years for me has been a contradiction of an increase in growth of visibility and awareness for scootering, and a decrease in participation and sales.
So more people watching it and no one actually doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
in relatively, yeah.
Because events still happening and getting bigger.
Yeah, but they went through a period where, because we've done continue to do loads of events and continue to support them. And at the beginning of this year, grit academies and now dog academies that we do, the numbers dropped. And it would have been easy for us to gone, we're not getting the numbers anymore, guys, let's just not do these. And I was like, nope, gotta keep going.
It's the grassroots stuff, isn't it? It's important, not grassroots, but it's important to keep new guys coming through.
Gotta keep doing it. And for me, it was kind of like, wasn't really about what we created on social media or any of that kind of stuff. It was, if there were 10 guys in the park, it was about those 10 guys. And for me, it was a bit like, if we can get those guys super motivated and super turned on, they'll go back to school the next day and tell their mates, and it will grow again. It'll grow. And it's pretty lonely sometimes. It can feel pretty lonely out there, but and there's still been a core group of like UK pros that have kept doing it. And there's a new wave of young kids coming along, which is great.
Do you credit yourself with creating a few of those UK pros with the Grit Academy? People like Dante, Leo, Jordan have all come through it, who have.
They're not bad, are they?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Well, other than
because it wouldn't have been. Back then, it would have been their first contest or something, right? Or at least their first like structured system that made them into the incredible contest riders they are today. All round riders, but
it gave them a platform. It gave them an opportunity to compete.
Yeah, and that was 2012, 13 or something. Yeah. And even though you're not the Grit owners, I believe it was you guys that put it on, though, the event. You took the responsibility.
There are events, I mean, I thought it was always important to get into the skate park with the guys. And we didn't know back then that if we had... I mean, there was no ISA or anything back then anyway, and we were still doing these things early. For us, it was just a way of trying to get more kids to ride scooters. And if you gave them a reason beyond just riding, they would go and ride, and that was what happened. And then on the back of that, we got a handful of guys that were amazing, and we don't give them the talent. They've got that already.
Exactly. We just supported them through those kind of early days, early years, which was great. I mean, it's
the most rewarding bit.
Yeah, to see some of those,
super amazing.
To see what some of those guys have gone on to do, and to be involved in that from a personal level. I mean, we were talking the other night with Jordan, and the TV stuff that I did with him. It's just all really good experiences.
Surreal,
getting them into the Nitro Circus shows, and just being there and seeing that is pretty. That's quite a cool thing, I have to say.
So, what is it like when you've helped someone get into the Nitro shows and you see them, like with Jamie and Dante last year?
Yeah,
you were behind the Jamie involvement, I believe.
Yes, the Jamie involvement. Yeah.
And you see Jamie go to that ramp, and he's brilliant.
Yeah,
and he's having a mint time, and everyone's going bloody hell. He's doing double flips, triple flips, whatever. Like, what is that like? Because I know you can't say, oh yeah, that's me doing double flips, but surely there's like a paternal thing. Yeah. Like, you know what? That's pretty cool. That
you probably could do them though.
I could do them.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Ryan Williams has said that I can go to our.
Ryan reckons that he will be fine on the mega ramp on Ryan's.
He said this up to the top of it.
No, the one. Oh, as in the Nitro one.
Yeah.
I've done that. That's easy.
Oh, actually, you're with me. Yeah.
No, going back to the point.
It's massive.
I'm never going to drop in on that. No, it is great. It's a very, for all of us, it's a very rewarding and fulfilling feeling seeing them there, and knowing that you've been, a part of obviously making that happen. So yeah, it's great, and fortunately, we've been able to do that, for Lewis and Jordan a few years back now, and you turn up at the O2 Arena in London, and you're like, this is quite serious, boys. How you feeling? And they're like, yeah, and that was when we did that with them. They were only going there to kind of like, oh, we've just invited them along to kind of have a practice, meet up with Ryan and whatever.
Yep.
And then like halfway through the practice, obviously the guys are kind of scoping them out, and they're like, no, actually. And they came to me and they were like, do you think they'd want to do the shows tonight? And I'm like, yes, but I'll just make sure I'll ask them.
Yeah.
And of course they were like, what? Amazing. So that's been good. But like, little Solly Bloomfield, not that he's little anymore.
I saw him recently.
Getting him involved.
He's coming on the weekend.
Oh,
he'll be up here.
Mint. Good.
And he did a lot of the kind of outside stadium tour.
Yeah.
Nitro tour whenever again, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And knowing, like, obviously the personality that we know what Solly's like, he
loved it,
and they all loved him, you know. So you kind of like, it's kind of like you're providing a good product. It's like, you know, these guys will be great. They won't let you down, and no, it's awesome.
So what's your favourite event you've ever been involved in? As in, like, Nitro or the Grit Academy events or Scoot Fest events? What do you reckon?
I don't. God, it's like having kids.
Yeah, you're not meant to have a favourite.
I love all of them, but like one more than the other.
Do you enjoy?
I don't mean that, by the way. I love both of you.
Yeah, me too. I love both my kids the same, equally.
Yeah, even the kids I don't know about.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the Scoot Fest nowadays? The same.
I think it's different now.
It is.
It's way different.
It's way different. I mean, back then we were. It was blind ignorance, really, that kind of pushed us through it, and this kind of, just this kind of like, I reckon we can do this. I reckon we can do that. You know, it was that really that did it, and it's enormously kind of rewarding on a. Without getting too kind of emotional about it, I mean,
don't get emotional.
I'm not going to get emotional.
I'm
not going to cry on camera.
Oh God. Okay.
They're just different. They're different now to what they were like. But for me, they're all equally as important.
So
like, even the tours. Remember going to California and with Danny and Matt Brown.
Oh, that was a Scoot Mac thing, wasn't it?
That was you and Andy tour of California. That was like one of the first things, and that was just like me and Andy going. This sounds like it could be a laugh.
Let's take some kids
and we
to
can
California.
get work. We can get work to pay for it. This is amazing.
Stay in Vegas.
I still remember going into that hotel room. I think it was like the Fashion Hotel or whatever. And as you walked in, like huge windows.
Oh, I remember
as you
you
walked
saying
in, the blinds went up, and you could see down the strip. It was like, we're here with a bunch of scooter kids.
Yeah.
You know, it was surreal, totally surreal.
I had the weirdest thing when I was there in 2011 as well, but not for that.
No,
we went again,
Razor. Didn't we? We did another one.
I didn't go with you.
No. Well, who did you go with?
I went with Razor, with like Recreation guy. And
oh no,
you forget how much of a big deal he is. He was.
Yeah, no, I went there and it was mint. I was sat every morning. I wake up and sit on the balcony with just a bagel, just sat there like, what's going on here? How is this happening?
Yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it?
I'm not even that good.
It's like it's a bit like when we used to do ISPO over in Munich in Germany.
Yeah,
and when we had the ramp thing there and that set up and all the rest of it.
That comp.
What, at ISPO?
Yeah, the Sausage Fest. No,
I don't know. A Pretzel Fest. Anyway, but you know, we're there with like, you know, Billy, Nathan, Weston, Ryan Mack. You know, those guys. You just look at them and they're kind of like, you know, this is all right, isn't it? You know, we're at the biggest trade show there is, you know, and we're getting paid whoever gets best trick every day and all this sort of stuff, and then having some fun in the evenings and all the rest of it. And then Brett actually came over with riders as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
do you remember that one year?
A few international guys.
And just to, you know, just great, good trips, like really good trips to do.
You just there's enough to kind of forget how many there's been.
Yeah, no,
actually.
it is.
Yeah, you do forget.
For me, it's like that whole couple of years is just one big thing.
It's just,
like a blur, almost a blur, but like I remember it all so clearly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, those pictures where you keep zooming in, you see more stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that period's mint, and I zoom into like 2013. I'm like, oh wait, there's like 10 events that were sick, and you zoom into that one, like, no, that event was sick because like there's so many things that just were just great. Back
for me, they kind of all blur into one amazing, like, just amazing, really. And I can't pick the years now. There's too many of them.
So as business people in scooters, and given
not really, but go on.
The fact that not the reason you're in it, but you still have to make a certain number for it to continue existing, right? That's not the motivation, but you kind of just have to do that, and you can enjoy the rest. What's it like in a period like the past 2 years, which I still believe are, not to bring it down too much, but it's been a lot worse than pretty much everybody realizes, figures wise. What's it like going through that as business people, going, all we want to do is make enough fucking money to keep enjoying it? Because it can't be a pleasant period for...
We've had some good years. So you're kind of like... because we've never done it just for... it's mine, essentially. So it sits firmly on my responsibility, and I'm totally unemployable now. Whereas these toasters could probably get another job.
Don't know about that.
I'm like... We've just never done it for the money. So when you have a year where it's not very good, you're still not doing it for the money. You know, you're doing it just because you want to get more kids riding scooters, and everything that you do is getting towards more kids riding scooters. And if they ride more scooters, they'll buy more product, and that's it. There's no more complicated than that.
Simple formula, really.
Really simple. So in the years when it's really flat, because we're not accountants or bright, we just keep going, like with blind faith that it will be all right. And what can happen is it can get harder to get support from the industry. That definitely happens.
Yeah.
And like I say, sometimes it can feel pretty lonely.
Yeah.
And in the worst year for sales that we've ever had, we land something like Nitro sponsoring Scootfest last year, which was epic on all proportion. Even their own it's still the highest ranking viewed comp that they have ever done.
You got like 5 million or some streams.
Yeah, on
maybe
the first,
more.
Yeah, no, just
over.
literally.
It was 6.
That was like
during
during and just after. That was the figures there,
which is more than all their skate contests, all their surfing, everything, wasn't it? It was ridiculous.
And they were
the highest.
They
engagement.
They were looking at the figures as it was actually being streamed.
Yeah,
they just couldn't believe it,
and they were just stood there like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know.
So how did the Nitro thing even happen? How did you? What was the conversation like to get Nitro involved with Scootfest last year? How did that come about?
We were.
There's a bigger story to it, really, isn't there?
Yeah, we're making their scooters, basically. So we're under license to make a Nitro Circus and
our Willie
product line. Obviously on the back of that, it seems sensible to then say, we kind of put on one of the biggest scooter events in the world. It would be awesome if you could get involved with it, and it would help sell loads of scooters.
It was also the year where they other than obviously they have the big Nitro World Games event.
Yep.
That particular year, they wanted to support an individual event per discipline. So they did a BMX thing.
They changed their mind a lot.
Yeah,
on that stuff,
and then they wanted to do a scooter event, and obviously Scootfest was.
And we were like, you should just do this one because it's kind of.
And we were
turnkey.
already working with them.
We're already doing it, and we were involved in them, and are involved with them. So it was a bit of a. It wasn't easy. It was like weeks, before the event that they came on board, and it was. Transformative at the time.
And I remember when I got to that event, because we had a meeting at Corby a few weeks before the event to see where cameras are going to go and stuff.
Yeah.
So we met a couple of the guys, and I remember this is pretty cool. Nitro doing a big deal, and then actually getting to Scootfest when it was on, and you were like, shit.
I know.
Did you go in that room where all the computers were?
Yes, I did.
And they must.
I watched.
I don't know the numbers. I don't know if I'm exaggerating this, but there were 3 full rooms of people on computers.
Yeah.
They must have brought like 20 or 30 employees, all their camera stuff, all their computers.
Yeah, it was
crazy, wasn't it?
It was, it was awesome.
I remember
brilliant.
They were landing aircraft. I don't know what they were doing. It had nothing to do with the event. They were like driving.
I actually remember thinking, right, for the Park Finder, or for some of it, I'm going to go and watch it in there and just see how it all works. Backstage, with the whole
It's the
camera
speed
1,
at which
camera
they
2,
edited
camera
it.
3.
Brilliant.
Was
for me, it was how much they backed it. They didn't dip their toe in. They didn't go, we'll try scooters.
They went in.
We're sending everybody. Their main presenters, everything. It was brilliant, and they were so stoked on it.
But when they do, it gets the highest views of any of their other events. So it's kind of like it comes back to them.
But it was mint. It
was amazing.
Yeah, it was
the thing I like about
amazing.
Really
it goes to show what we could do if we had that backing, and what the sport could do if we had it regularly.
Yeah,
because we don't have it this year.
Yeah, but the thing I like about Scootfest in general is they've always been a bit different to each other. I know there's obviously not the fest now, but it was then it went to Rush, then it was Rush with the World Cup, then it went to Corby for 3 years. In the first year, there was the format changes a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then now this time we've got the World Cup thing with nation teams.
Yeah, so we... I hate rinsing and repeating. I'm like, that's not driving or progressing at all. That's just basically doing the same thing over and over. And half the time expecting something different. So, and you know, we get some shit for this, let me tell you. But we're constantly trying to mix it up. Yeah. And when we mix it up, it challenges us to put on a better and better event.
Yeah.
And I think it does do that. You know, I mean, this is the first year that we've had, like you say, essentially national teams competing. And there's a big picture for that. Because I think if we can pull it off, that is, I'm going to say this a bit tongue in cheek because I don't really want it to happen, but it could be a bit of a gateway to an Olympic type format, because it's nations and not just individuals or brands.
Yeah.
But primarily it's because it's just something different and not been done before. So I quite like doing that. You know, we'll take the risk on doing something a bit different.
You get a better mix of guys as well. Not a better mix of guys. You get a different mix of guys.
Yeah,
it's definitely diverse.
Yeah, you get people like
I'm stoked. I mean, I think
so diverse. You know, amazing.
The riders that we've got together.
Yeah.
And you know, we've had some brands kind of kick back on the way that it was structured, and there's obviously after last year some disappointment that some people aren't able to make it because they didn't get picked. And we had nothing, you know, that was on the team captains. And it should be that way. And, you know, we could get onto the subject of judging, but we don't have any influence on that stuff. You know, it's like continually get blamed for it, but actually it's not us.
To switch gears a bit, I think Greenover has taken a lot of abuse over the past year or two for as far what we know is absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Well, I was bullied as a kid at school, so basically it's just happened my entire life. But anyway.
So the thing that's bothered me about it, because it's just kind of floated about just this rumour thing that Greenover owns every brand in the world, which I know not to be true. And I also know the people behind it have put on events like Grit Academy, and I know that it's so like we just want people to ride scooters. And it bores me when those people in charge of doing that and have had such a good impact, like gets a bad rep for no reason, for literally no reason. It's literally invented because you own two brands, right? Is that right? District and Dominator. Yeah. That's it. And
we we represent.
Yeah, you represent other brands like distributors. Yeah, but that's a completely different thing.
The business part of it.
But I'm curious about how it is on when you hear a rumor about yourselves. What does that feel like, knowing that you've put in this kind of shift for scooters and you just enjoy it and you're like, why is he saying this? What's it like?
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
You go first.
Yeah, it's an odd one because I think for me, the people that know and the people that I care about knowing are totally they're totally fine, and actually that's so for me. That's enough. It is frustrating when you kind of go, well, factually that's not correct, you know, or I'm not sure that's really for us to be blamed for or whatever. But you know, I don't dwell on it too much because it's kind of like, yeah, it's disappointing, it's a bit frustrating, and you know, we're not going to start a campaign to try and like, you know, get on social media and say all these things back and all the rest of it because it's just not worth the reply. But for me, knowing that, you know, the guys that do know the truth is enough. So, kind of.
I don't pay any credit. I mean, I've had spoken to a few people in the past where they've just been like, I don't think they've known that I'm involved with Greenover, or they wouldn't have said it, obviously. Yeah. But they're like, just out of nowhere, they'll be like, fucking Greenover. And I'm like, wait, why? What's happened now?
Yeah, no, what?
And
what is it?
This guy was just like, yeah, all they do is they keep buying companies and just destroying them or something. This is what this kid said to me, and I was like who? Oh well, and it's just things that just made up.
We haven't done it.
Yeah, but anyway, part of the reason for this platform in general is so we can kind of have a voice, because brands can never have a voice. If somebody in the world, let's say, I don't know, Ryan McNamara comes back from the dead and he goes, I fucking hate District, or I hate Greenover, or anything, or whatever brand it is, he can do a big thing on Instagram about it, District or Green Over or anybody can't really say anything back to them because the brand has to be kind of impersonal, doesn't it? The brand's thing, but it means that the brand owners behind that don't really get a say in any of it. They can't go, that's wrong. There's no way for that to come across.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not in the DNA. It's not why we're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you decide to do some things that are new or different, or other people didn't come up with it,
yep,
then you're obviously putting your head a little bit up above the kind of you're going to get shot at a bit, and I guess there's a part of me that kind of when I'm sat on the toilet in the morning looking at Instagram and go, that's just like, that ain't right.
Yeah.
And I'm stopping myself from doing a post about trying to set the record straight.
You couldn't be asked to do that though.
No,
I can't imagine you sitting there.
And you've deleted your Instagram account.
And I've deleted my Instagram account now because it just got so I couldn't take the bullying. So, but no, I just think we just come back to what we've done.
Yeah.
And we're not alone. I mean, there's loads of amazing people in this industry and in this sport. And not just riders, but mums and skate park owners and other brand owners. We're just all trying to do the right thing. And, sometimes you don't always do the right thing. But we've all got to kind of coexist.
It's never done maliciously or anything like that. There's never
been any intention to it.
Yeah, it's no intention.
Well, that's like we're admitting that we've done something wrong, which we haven't.
No, I know. You know what I mean.
So in that you mentioned, like you said, it costs a lot of money, Scootfest and stuff. It does cost a lot of money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not
what,
of
do you
course.
Want a figure?
No, I'm not gonna. I do know it. I'm not gonna ask about it. But
so it doesn't. It doesn't make any money.
And it is purely out of enjoyment. They kind of, well, someone should do this kind of thing, and we kind of can of it because you don't make money from those events. It's purely just I kind of want to do it.
I don't know. Is there a question?
Yeah, that's the question. Like, what's the motivation if you're not? If you know before starting an event, you're going to be like, right, I'm going to lose some money from this.
Well, because we never did it to make money. And I keep coming back to this a little bit. We are not doing this because our primary motivation is to make money. We have to eat, we have to live, and we have to eat, and we have to try and provide incomes for other people that work in the sport. And not the easier, but the quicker that we can do that, like you guys and the other guys that have come through it from the beginning, if you can make an income from the sport, then it will sustain itself. And we're not accountants, so we don't look at it and go, yeah, there's no return here, so we should just stop. Because there's still things that we're delivering that is amazing for other people, like amazing.
And is that how you see it going forward? Is having more people making money from scooters, basically, almost a bit like it's not, because I think we spoke before about how we kind of need people to go from riding to doing other things within the industry, not just riding and leaving.
Yeah.
And more companies should be offering that opportunity and stuff. Is that what you think is how it becomes a permanent thing?
I think in order to give it some commercial reality is that it needs to support the people that it generates. So, we create a bunch of really good riders and they're the best person to look after the sport is the person that's grown up in the sport. So, and it's young, right? I mean, it's still, not really a decade old in reality. And there are guys that were in it 10, 12 years ago that they are now beginning to make money from. And it's either, on YouTube subscriptions or it's on judging or it's on being a sales guy or it's on development or it's on something. There's loads of aspects to this industry that are not just riding, but may have started as a rider. And that's really cool, and that's rewarding a lot. And the guys that are still in it, we were working with, like in the beginning. Your case in point, you and Danny and Lewis, and even Ben. At the skate park today, he's coming up with ideas in order to stay in the sport, and he's a coach, and he works in a skate park, and he's got some cool products coming, and and he's a designer, and I think it's great. You know, Fernando, who does our scooter designs, you know, the squirrel or the badger in Peru. It's great.
Is he a badger?
I don't know, whatever he looks like. He's penguin.
They've got penguins in Peru.
Yeah, I think he's the penguin.
I don't think he looks very penguiny.
No,
but
they've got penguins in Peru.
Yeah,
it's famous for penguins, isn't it, Peru?
I think they're like Humboldt penguins or something. Yeah, it's not
from the Humboldt.
Humboldt. It's like the squid.
Isn't it
There's also
in Peru for penguins.
They go there for holidays.
Oh, makes sense.
They're snowbirds, aren't they? Penguins.
Yeah, so
Peru's but not all penguins. There's like one or two penguins that live on snow.
It's like all the guys that go to Florida in the winter from Canada. You know, they're snowbirds.
Are they?
Like they're called snowbirds. It's like we've got off a bit of a tangent here.
We do it.
There's
yeah.
penguins.
To be honest,
I'll have to Google this.
I'm impressed we've got this far without doing this already.
Yeah,
I've had like coherent
we've
conversation.
Been really disciplined.
Yeah, we've been pretty good.
That's on my mind now.
But anyway, what were we talking about?
Scooters, I think.
Oh yeah, right.
Not penguins.
No, I think to kind of because the original point, wasn't it, was about, you know, how much shit we get for doing stupid stuff. But
I think there's more penguins in Peru than scooters.
Well, there's definitely
that.
I mean, Fernando's got all the scooters.
Yeah.
But he's got his signature one now. Have you seen?
Yeah, it's mint.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to have as well.
Yeah, we're the only ones that bought any.
Are you? That's not true, Fernando.
Shout out for Fernando.
Yeah.
No, but it's a cool thing to have anyway.
Available now.
Yeah.
So what kind of things, what are you involved in still with scooters? You've got dog scooters, your districts, Dominator. Just
lay it out.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Well, I know most.
We haven't got long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually not that complicated, to be honest.
Scootfest, yours. The Nitro scooters, you're
Scootfest
making
is actually Scootfest is not anything to do with Greenover. It's totally separate entity. But it was my idea, yeah, and I own it with Stu and Spence.
Yeah.
So they're awesome, and it couldn't work without them. Like it couldn't work with loads of people that work properly hard for no money at that event. So shout out to those boys and girl. And then we distribute Grit and Crisp, District and Dominator,
and Aztec
in the wider part of Europe, and we are the licensee for Nitro Circus and Ryan Williams products. We make, design, develop, make his stuff
and distribute
globally. That one, and we own District and Dominator.
And you made Kota stuff.
Oh, we made Kota stuff for a bit, and would continue to do that. But it's up to him really. It's on him what he wants to do with it. But yeah, he's cool. He's really cool, actually.
And one more brand that you've been involved in that's the common mistake is that they think it's Greenover. It's Phoenix, right? And that was one. What was that relationship? What was your involvement in it? And two, what actually happened?
Okay, so we were, in order to work out how to distribute and sell some product in America, I set up a business with a guy over there, Frank, who I'd known previously, and good dude, and good logistics guy, just a good guy really.
Yep.
And we kind of took the brands that we had, which were in those days were just Grit and Crisp, and did a good job of delivering product. It's not a particularly complicated science. But we did that really well, and the product was good, and we opened that up in the kind of early days where it was all good.
Yep.
And then we got approached by Tom at Phoenix, or I didn't, but Frank got approached to buy Phoenix. He wanted to get out for his own reasons.
And what kind of year was that? When did? I don't know when it was.
I'm crap with years. And names.
A bit ago.
Years and names. It was a bit ago. Yeah, it was a while ago.
It was a few years back, yeah.
And he was at a kind of like crossroads where I think from a product wise, it was sort of moving to China a bit more. They were working with Dinny and the guys at Blunt for a bit, and they were delivering the product and getting it made for them. And I think there was a bit of a backlash about it not being American owned anymore. And
that was before you.
Crazy. This is all before us.
Yeah.
And then he approached Frank. I think he'd had enough and wanted to get out of it, and which I can fully sympathise with at the moment. And Frank said, what do you reckon? Because I didn't really have much to do with the business. I just sort of helped him set it up. And I said, yeah, sounds freaking awesome. I mean, it's an awesome brand. You should give it a go. We should give it a go, type thing. And so we did.
So you both bought it. It was yours and
Well,
Frank's.
the company bought it that we both owned. Is the exact
Turnstile?
structure. Turnstile bought it, yeah.
So a bit like how Greenover bought District, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Greenover wasn't in charge of Phoenix all; it was distributing. The same
No,
way
it wasn't.
that Turnstile
we were
then
just the distributor. Greenover was
Yeah.
just the distributor. But there was some commonality in ownership, obviously, because I owned a bit of Turnstile and I owned Greenover.
Yeah.
And we went off. I helped get it manufactured, and we came out with some really good product. And then it's kind of really difficult to sort of work out what its demise was, because no one really did anything wrong. I think it was just a consequence of the market totally taking a shit like 2 years ago, and being some pretty grim fallout from that, some tough decisions.
In hindsight, is there something that happened that you go, oh, maybe that was a factor as well? Like, as in, did Phoenix buy loads of shit at just the wrong time, or was it just a casualty of what happened to the market?
I think it's one of the casualties.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on its own. It's just the one with the largest profile.
Yeah.
And so it's very evident that that's the case. And it's really sad. I mean, it's really sad.
I think that was another one of those things that kind of got not like scapegoated, but that was the thing it kind of became an infamous thing that Phoenix had been one of the companies that has fallen.
Yeah.
And then there was just a lot of speculation about why. Nobody really considered that it was the market. They thought, oh, well, somebody in charge has fucked this up, kind of thing.
Well, if it was down to just somebody fucking it up, then we would have fucked up all of the other brands that we've got and are involved in, and all the other events and all the everything. So it can't just be that. I mean, is anyone without blame? For sure, no. I mean, there's obviously, there were decisions that were made collectively, and it was kind of like one of those ones that, we've had to make some pretty grown-up decisions, which we're not very good at, I've got to say, this year, and they're not very nice. They're not nice. But we personally, I had to prioritise what we're doing. Because for me, and the family, because it's my two brothers that work with me, and you guys, and we're in the UK, and Greenover is our business. We needed to make sure that was going to come through what was a tough time.
Yep.
And Turnstile didn't make it through that.
Yeah.
So
and so through that
period,
again,
that wasn't my call. That was someone else's.
Yeah. So through that period, and now, which brand, Luke, global head of sales, is that the title you give yourself?
Self-proclaimed.
Today's title.
Self-proclaimed global head of sales / kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
Which brand?
Kind of a big deal.
Which brand is still performing best, given the whole nightmare out of the ones that Greenover distribute?
It's a good one. Fernando's signature.
It's Fernando's signature. Yeah. It's an interesting one because we've got quite a diverse amount of sales channels, and we sell different products into different territories depending on what the brand is and our relationship with it, whether we own it or just distribute it or whatever. It's actually quite a broad spectrum. So to be honest, Grit still sells really well in the UK because it's the one that's kind of
it's what started it all off.
It's what started it for us, and we did a lot of work to obviously get the name out there and get the brand out there and all the rest of it.
Yep.
So that's great in the UK. Dominator is the one that's the fastest growing because it's
Dominator is really good, isn't it?
It's really good,
product.
And we've purposely done it in a way where we hit a very, very competitive price point, and as you say, the product is really good. So that's probably growing more than anything. And District is always there or thereabouts purely because of what District is and the innovation behind the products every year, and Fernando doing what he does and everything. It's always kind of trying to be not ahead of the curve necessarily, but just there or thereabouts. And then of course we've just been working with Nitro Circus on the Ryan Williams stuff, and without surprise, because of his presence and his following and what he does as a guy in the sport, that's sold really well and continues to be very, very attractive to lots of people.
It's kind of a bit of everything then, isn't it?
It is kind of a bit of everything.
Different,
yeah, it is.
You got individual parts, you got completes and stuff.
And that's really, we never really want to have all our eggs in one basket type thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I should probably mention Aztec as well, because if there's ever a product if there's ever a product that comes in and sells out incredibly quickly,
Dom's done a great job of that. He has done a great job.
And again,
innovation.
Yeah,
though,
he's doing some incredible stuff. So yeah, it's nice. It's a good position to be in, because basically,
I guess one supports really the other when one sucks a bit. Is that right?
Yeah, and we try not to have. There's not too much conflict between the brands. It's each of them has got their own identity and their own kind of journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a good position to be in. It's quite fun. Every day's different.
Yeah. No, good. Well, I've got 2 more questions, I think, before we finish this. Quickish ones. Firstly, I kind of want to discuss the reality of making certain products as manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, why does Dish not just go, let's make 6.5 decks? Aztec can do it and they sell them, for instance, right? Why, from a manufacturer's point of view, why is it not that viable?
As in the challenges?
As in, there's decisions to be made. There's a reason why District don't just go, let's make a 7 then, right?
Yeah,
because everyone in the world,
potentially it may not work.
Yeah, everyone.
Right,
a lot of people kind of go, someone made a 6.6, let's make a 7. And then, for example, the riders, like the core riders, are like, why don't you make a 7 wide deck? It'd be sick. Why does that not happen?
Well, it may happen, actually. So there's a number of different things that influence what products get made, and it isn't just because somebody's gone, let's do an 8-inch wide deck because that's going to make this one thing much easier. And when we try and build something, we aren't just trying to make it do one thing easily. So scooter design has always been a balance between basically trying to get the best, strongest and lightest product to do all things.
Yep.
That's quite difficult to do. And for guys like Dom, who is making quite a specific product for a specific use, it's a bit, I'm not going to use the word easier because that's not the right word, but it's he's got a kind of clear path from innovation, and it's a small brand, and so it's kind of it's okay to test those things, and I think it's amazing.
So do they just do smaller quantities than District would do?
Yeah,
so they can
a little bit.
So cause
not a lot smaller actually. It's got pretty big in it.
It's bigger.
It's getting bigger. Yeah, it's quite good. But the reality of it is that we also look at the guys riding scooters, and it's kind of like, okay, so our kind of core group, let's say they're aged between 11 and 16, not many of them are going to be able to deal with a 6.6 wide deck, like at all. And so we kind of look at it and go, well, we want you to have the best time that you can when you're riding a scooter, and we want to try and build a product that's going to make it easy for you to land tricks and learn tricks. Having a super wide, super long, super too big deck isn't going to make that easier for you.
So do you think
if you're 14,
like, right, well, if you want a wide deck, just buy an Aztec one then, because they're doing that. We're going to make this
like Luke says,
well-rounded product.
Our brands don't really conflict on each other, and we try and deliberately do that so that we've never been somebody that's kind of gone, that's a properly good idea, we should probably just nick that idea and do it ourselves. That isn't the way that we develop product. And so we kind of look at what we can do way before we look at what other people are doing. And sometimes genuinely I'll go, shit me, that was a fucking great idea. Good work, Dom or Dinny or Mike or, any of them out there doing it. There's loads of properly bright people out there making great product. It doesn't influence ours necessarily. But you are talking about a product with 5 moving bits.
I was going to say,
so there's only so much you can do. And
That's
it's
why I like
great.
Aztec stuff. I saw that catalogue and I was like, hold on a minute, that fork actually looks unique somehow after this. He's done a really good job with them.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, considering where we are in the timeline of scooters and products and all the rest of it, he's genuinely kind of gone, no, this is totally...
Yeah.
This is how you should ride
This is totally unique.
But it won't suit everyone. That's the reality of it.
And on the opposite side, I think it's really cool how District's always kind of... It's remained District, but it's growing, it's developing and stuff. It gets bigger and longer, whatever. We change different things, but it's still distinctly...
Our user has got bigger, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
it's cool that
yeah.
it's still... Didn't just reinvent it because somebody started doing this style of neck tube. It's like, no, that's our thing. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's our identity.
So they serve
Works
different
really well.
purposes, essentially.
Yeah, and it creates a very balanced product because
Yep.
sometimes if you change the head tube, you throw the way that the whole thing feels when you ride it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean that's...
And the final question, who's the best rider in the world? Not your favourite to watch, who's the best rider in the world?
Not the favourite.
So not
my
our
favourite
favourite.
to
Not
watch.
your favourite. Your favourite's me. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's Lewis Williams. Cheers. And
Mine's Billy Atkins.
yours is Atkins, who's probably not ridden a scooter for about 10 decades.
Although
Yeah, he'll always have it. Though, won't
he'll always have it.
he? He'll always have it.
No, I
You can't
agree.
take talent like
He's
that.
sitting on a
away.
surfboard.
So yeah,
It's amazing.
no favourites, but who's the best rider in the world?
That's a very difficult question.
There isn't one best rider.
Yeah, I was going to say in
Actually.
terms of
That is a scapegoat.
ability.
That's super scapegoat
That's
answer.
that is cheating.
Yeah, but that's the truth of it.
All right, I'll narrow it down. Who do you think is the best competition park rider in the world then?
Well, I think it would be impossible to look further than Dakota over the years because
So of all time, I
Yeah.
think he shaped contest riding. It's not.
He's
Yeah.
he's
not bad.
and he's won the most. So by default, he's quite right.
We haven't been around long enough to have a GOAT, like greatest of all time. But for me, he would be the one that's been the most influential to park riders. Because he was the first one that was kind of like very, very professional, very planned, very everything. And kind of if you want to be me, you're going to have to be like me. And
actually land some
and
tricks in
and
your run,
practice.
not just treat it as a best trick thing. Yeah,
No.
And you see, and the kids,
think about all aspects
Yeah.
of riding.
and you see kids now that have clearly followed that kind of.
yeah, even if subconsciously, but they have. Yeah, and
he
right,
gets
so-
he gets
but-
a bad rap for having a crap style, but actually that is his style, and I
He's
think
brilliant.
that's really
I think
impressive.
he's-
really
yeah.
good. He's a good guy
He
as
is
well.
amazing.
Yeah,
So-
so I think
But right,
comp-wise-
but currently, this year, who's been the best rider? Do you think this year?
well, I was at the Worlds in Barcelona.
Do you think the right guy won, John Marco?
I think it was incredibly close, which of course it was.
Yeah,
So I
0.2
think
points.
it was that was fair. But obviously then there was the Action Space event. So I think I would probably go with Chris Farris as this year for me.
Right. Based on results, then second at World's First Action Space.
Yeah, and I think he's just God, it's difficult.
yeah,
This is a difficult question.
Just
Lewis.
curious. Just curious.
It's too hard.
It's too hard.
It's
All right.
and this is
There's
why
guys. I mean,
All right, you can't say I don't know, and you can't cop out of this one. You got two words, which is first name and surname. Who's the best all-round rider in the world? There's fewer to pick from in that category. So,
I'm going to have to get Ryan Williams.
yep. All right, and Dan,
Rich,
Richard Linker. I think
like
he's
not hands
brilliant,
down
isn't
because I think Ryan's great. Dylan's amazing.
Oh yeah, I forgot Dylan. Jeez.
How can you
Dante?
forget Dylan? God's
Dante,
sake.
Sorry,
Dylan.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Dante's
it's
Right, this
not
could go on for a while.
It could, I mean, the thing
you
is,
think Rich, you think
I think overall,
You can't
Rich is-
now not say Ryan.
Rich.
You've
I'm not
said
gonna,
Ryan.
no, I'm standing by it, and I'm saying why. I think showmanship, trick ability, just what he's done in the sport. Yeah, I think he would be mine.
yeah, they're two pretty solid answers. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're not.
But then how
No,
good,
I was going to just mention Rumit because
I was just about to say how good
like,
was Room,
as an innovator and
do miss him.
someone that just smashed himself to pieces to do
Yeah.
good, cool
Eastern
shit.
Yeah.
European riders.
Yeah.
They're the ones.
They
Mad,
are
innit?
mental.
Anyway, I need another cup of tea.
Yeah.
Been here for a
I need a
while.
piss.
Been about
I
7
need
hours.
to Google about these bloody penguins in Peru.
You do. Let's do that. So anyway, yeah. Cheers for the insight.
That's all right. Thank you.
Let's go
Thank
and
you,
watch
Lewis.
people ride some scooters.
Cool.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.
Bye.